Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to In the Office with Scott and Wallace. I'm Robert Scott.
I'm Clint Wallace. Happy Tuesday, everybody.
Yeah, it's nice to be back with you. As always, we're here approximately 2.
Right.
The idea was 2 p.m., but sometimes work gets in the way. But running a little late today, but here we are. And today we're going to talk briefly with you about trucking accidents.
Okay.
If you're riding around Tallahassee, perhaps other areas where we practice, you might have seen our trucking accident billboards. We have commercials that run regarding trucking accidents. And the reason for that is because we handle trucking accident cases here at Scott and Wallace.
Sure.
And these cases, for a number of reasons, Clint, can be a lot more complicated than your standard car accident case.
Yeah.
And part of the reason is there's just a lot more information available.
Sure. A lot more rules.
A lot more rules.
A lot more law. Yeah.
So to start out, why don't you talk a little bit about some of the rules and regulations that may apply in a trucking accident case? And
sure. Well, probably the most important difference is there's something called the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, and it's a regulatory body, a federal body that governs truck drivers and trucking companies. Some of the rules a lot of people may have heard about before. There's a certain amount of hours that truckers are allowed to drive in a day period, or a 7-day period, or a 10-day period. And the thought is we don't want to have fatigued drivers out there driving. Sometimes there's a difference in the incentives. The trucking company wants their loads delivered as quickly as possible, right? Because that's how they make money. And so they encourage the truck drivers to get the loads delivered.
Yeah, they can.
Sometimes, yeah. And so these rules exist to prevent them exploiting the truck drivers. So we keep safe, non-tired drivers on the road. So that's one rule.
Yeah, it's just, it makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, a tractor trailer is a much bigger vehicle than your standard sedan, for example. Okay.
Sure.
So if there's an accident involving one of these tractor trailers, then as you can imagine, it's likely to be a much more serious injury, even a death.
Sure.
And so I think that's some of the impetus behind having these rules and regulations and really taking a proactive stance against fatigue driving.
Yeah, sure. So lots of times when we get involved with these cases, or not lots of times, every time we get involved with these cases, we get access to the log books of the truck drivers, and we can see when they were and where they were there, and see if that lines up with the amount of time it would take to get to those spots if you were driving a safe speed.
And we've identified discrepancies before.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of opened up the liability in the case as far as proving that maybe a driver was in fact fatigued or distracted in some way. They are in a hurry, those types of things. So.
Sure. Okay. Another rule is truck drivers aren't allowed to use cell phones. Okay.
Right.
It's unlike passenger vehicles, where in most states you're still allowed to talk on the cell phone. Truck drivers are not allowed to do that.
Right.
And so in every case we have involving a truck driver, we subpoena their cell phone records and see if they were on the phone at the time.
Right. You talked a little bit about this, I believe it was last week, regarding the ECMS and the data that can be downloaded after an accident with a truck. You want to talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah. So there's something called an electronic control module that is in most commercial vehicles, and oftentimes after an accident, it will record what happened in the accident. So we can have an engineer go out, download that data, and we can see how fast the truck was going at the time of the accident. Whether its blinkers were on, whether the truck driver had the radio on, the volume, a lot of electronic information, so we can recreate what happened to cause that accident.
Right.
So that's a good
point. And it'll show speeds, that type of thing. Again, we can see if a driver, a truck driver is saying I was going X amount of speed right before the accident, we can look at this data and determine if that's accurate or not.
Yeah. Okay, talk a little bit about, so after an accident, a lot of these trucking companies that we get involved with, they have big risk management departments. Yeah. And so after the accident, it's very important for us to represent our plaintiffs that we have access to the data we need quickly, because what do they do? What are the insurance companies for the truck?
Yeah, I mean, I hinted at this just a minute ago. I mean, when a tractor trailer is involved in an accident, unfortunately, generally you're dealing with a serious injury, maybe even a death, okay? And you've got two different risk management teams, okay? You're going to have most likely a gigantic trucking company who's going to have internal risk management people who they're going to immediately send to the scene of an accident. The scene of the accident, right? Okay, that day. And you very well may have insurance companies for the trucking companies sending their risk management people because they understand the exposure involved from a financial standpoint.
Sure.
And from that moment, they're beginning to collect data, certainly, but they're also beginning to plan their defense. Okay, and so for you to, so if you're in an accident or family member's in an accident with a tractor trailer, you can almost bet that you're going to be way behind the 8 ball. So you need to get a lawyer involved immediately so that we can send preservation of evidence letters. You know, we want, if you start the tractor trailer again, it can erase data. Okay. So we want some preservation of evidence letters. We have experts we can retain and we'll send to the site or wherever the truck or the trailer is being housed. I mean, we can do things like this, and we communicate with the other side, of course. But the main thing is evidence collection, because when a tractor trailer is involved,
the stakes are higher.
The stakes are higher. Yeah, that's well said. Yeah. So, with that, I mean, that's kind of I guess a tour of the trucking accident claim. Megan, are there any?
You've got people watching, but no questions right now about what you've gone over. Yeah.
Yeah. So these are very serious claims. A lot of times, we take them very seriously. If you or a loved one has ever been involved in an accident, or recently involved in an accident, I should say, with a tractor trailer, please don't hesitate to contact us. There's never any fees to talk to us. In fact, we don't get paid unless we make a monetary recovery for a client. And of course, there's absolutely no obligation to hire us if you want to take advantage of just sitting down and talking to us, picking our brains.
Sure.
But we're here if you ever need us. And these are very serious claims most of the time, as we talked about. And so it's very important to immediately hire a lawyer if a tractor trailer is involved in an accident and someone's hurt.
Good advice, Robert. So, okay, thank you guys for tuning in. Happy Tuesday. Give us a call if you have any questions. 222-7777.
See y'all next week. Thanks.